All right, let's just jump right in. We're living in this world that's changing so fast, it can make your head spin, right? But here's the big question. Has the way we actually learn kept up with any of that? Today, we're asking if our education system, a model that was pretty much built for a totally different era, is ready for today's students. Or is it just stuck in the past?
You know, it's funny. People making these huge, bold predictions about tech completely changing the classroom, that's not new. Not at all. Over 100 years ago, you had Thomas Edison, of all people, saying that books would be obsolete. And, well, look around. It's a great reminder that real, lasting change is always way more complicated than just throwing a new gadget at the problem.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The biggest challenge people point to in our current system is this one-size-fits-all model. But think about it. In a room with 30 different kids with 30 unique brains, does one size really fit anyone? This is the core issue, the thing that's making both students and teachers feel so frustrated.
So you've basically got two competing ideas here. On one hand, you have traditional instruction. You know the drill, teacher at the front, everyone on the same page at the same time. But on the other side, you have personalized learning, which totally flips the script. It's all about focusing on the individual student, adapting to how they learn best and at their own speed. It's a huge shift from a standard lecture to a learning journey that's built just for them.
And this isn't just some academic debate, you know? The system itself is showing some serious signs of wear and tear. Right across the EU, we're seeing teacher shortages getting worse, stubborn inequality that just won't go away, and, this is the really alarming part, a drop in basic reading and science skills. These aren't just statistics on a chart, they're real problems affecting real people, which makes finding a new way forward feel more urgent than ever. So if the old system is struggling, where are we supposed to look for answers? Well, the first big push has been all about using technology to create personalized learning. The idea is simple, really. Use digital tools to finally make good on that promise of an education that's tailored for every single student.
And don't get me wrong, this isn't some futuristic dream. It's already happening. By 2018, a whopping 71% of primary school students in the EU were using technology in more than a quarter of their lessons. I mean, that's a massive jump from just 29% a few years before. The digital classroom is officially here.
One of the main ways this is happening is through something called blended learning. And what's really important here is that it's not about replacing teachers with computers. It's about mixing the best of both worlds, combining that crucial in-person teaching with the power and flexibility of digital tools. It gives students so much more control over when, where, and how they learn. But what if we could go deeper? I mean, a lot deeper. What if the next big leap in personalized learning wasn't about tracking what a student clicks on, but about understanding how they're learning right at the source? And that is where we get to the really wild stuff, directly connecting our brains to computers.
This is the question that's really pushing the boundaries. We've gotten pretty good at personalizing education based on what a student does, their answers, their speed, but what if we could adapt their lesson based on how their brain is actually firing in that exact moment?
The tech that could make this happen is called a brain-computer interface, or BCI for short. To put it simply, it's a direct line of communication between brain activity and a computer. For a long, long time, the world of brain science and the world of the classroom have felt miles apart. Well, BCIs are starting to close that gap fast.
And there are two main types of this tech that are making their way into schools. First, you've got EEG. It uses a special cap to measure the brain's electrical buzz, which is great for seeing general states, like if a student is focused or maybe getting tired. Then there's fNIRS, which uses a headband with little lights to actually measure blood flow, showing you which specific parts of the brain are kicking into high gear during a math problem. We're literally bringing the neurolab into the classroom. But, and this is a huge but, with this incredible, mind-blowing potential comes some really serious risks. This technology is the definition of a double-edged sword. The promise is amazing, but the dangers are just as big. We absolutely have to understand both sides. To really get a grip on what's at stake, listen to this possible story from UNICEF. A girl named Kiko gets an implant that lets her see. It's a miracle, right? But then, after some minor trouble, the state comes to her with a deal. Let us use that same implant to adjust your thoughts and make you a good citizen. Or we turn it off and you're blind again. Suddenly, that abstract fear of mind control feels very, very real.
And what about fairness? Here's another scenario. A really smart kid named John just can't afford the same brain-boosting tech as his rich classmates. Suddenly, all his hard work just isn't enough to compete. It paints this picture of a future where society splits into two groups, the enhanced and the unenhanced, a biological caste system that would make today's inequality look tiny. This really shows you the tightrope we have to walk. In one country, smart rules mean a little girl named Sylvia gets an implant that stops her seizures and changes her life. But right next door, a country that's scared of the risks bans the tech entirely, meaning a boy named Juan can't get that same exact treatment. It's a stark reminder that doing nothing can be just as harmful as doing the wrong thing. So all of this forces us to ask some really tough questions. What about equity? Are we about to create a permanent gap in society? What about privacy? Who gets to own the data from inside your own head? What about freedom of thought? How do we make sure this technology frees minds instead of controlling them? And what about safety? How do we protect our kids from being manipulated by something this powerful?
So where does that leave us? Well, the future of this tech isn't written in stone. It's not about being for it or against it. It's about being incredibly careful and thoughtful about how we build it and how we regulate it. Because when it comes to our kids, the stakes couldn't be higher.
The good news is there's a roadmap. Reports from groups like UNICEF lay out some really clear, practical steps. We need to demand impact assessments to understand the risks before this stuff hits the market. We need laws that flat out ban using a kid's brain data for advertising. We need clear, ethical rules for any research. And maybe the most important thing, we need to build safety and privacy right into the technology from the very beginning. In the end, it really all boils down to this one huge question. We are on the edge of a revolution that could unlock human potential in ways we can't even begin to imagine. But the very same technology that could free our children's minds could also be used to build a prison for them. The choice of which path we take is up to us.